Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Winter, and welcome to the review type thing for Neverending Nightmares. I'm gonna try and keep this spoiler free, but some items for discussion that may potentially be spoiling for some people are the game's length, which I highly recommend everybody who's interested in this game take a listen to. In fact, that'll be the first thing that we discuss because I know that's a big issue for some people and the overall theme of the game. Other than that, I'm going to keep the endings secret. Not going to say anything about those. And we're not going to be checking out any gameplay because of the length. If you want to see what the gameplay looks like, if you haven't seen my checking out episode on this game, then I highly recommend you do that. If you've seen that episode, then you've seen the gameplay for the entire game, and anything else that I were to record for a little video montage for a review would risk spoilers, and I really don't want to do that for anybody because I do think this is a very well made game, and I think it's a good game. I really enjoyed my time with it, and I think I got my money's worth. Now, whether you'll get your money's worth, that's entirely up to you. So let's get the elephant out of the room right quick. Let's talk about the game length. When I recorded my checking out episode, that clocked in at just under 55 minutes, I believe. And after I was done with that, I spent another hour and a half with the game, and then it was done. So you're looking at a 2.5 hour game if you look at every single thing that you can stop and look at. If you don't, which I did on subsequent playthroughs, I went through again without looking at anything, then you're going to clock in at just under 2 hours. So it's very short. And I only mention this because I know that's a big deal for some people. You know, some people really get offended when they spend $15, which is what this is asking for, in the US at least, off of the PlayStation Network, and then they get something that's under 3 hours. You know, I get it. I understand it. You want to get bang for your buck, and you want something that you can go back and play over and over again. You know, no one likes to feel like they're throwing money down the drain. So that being said, again, I don't feel like I threw money down the drain, but I was disappointed with the length of the game because I really enjoyed it. You know, the gameplay it's a cat and mouse, which again, as you've seen in my checking out episode, that's the entire gameplay. You hide from enemies and you wander around, and the game constantly pushes you through corridor after corridor, and that's it. There's nothing to it. There's no combat, there's no puzzles, no riddles, anything. Just walk around and look at things and hide from enemies. For me, it was fun. You know, I enjoyed it. What it does well, it does well. You know, it's good at the gameplay, as far as I'm concerned anyways. Again, this is just my personal opinion. It sets the atmosphere really well and maintains it throughout. And the visuals, I mean, obviously the art style is pretty awesome. Again, you should check out Machine Head's album, The Blackening, if you're into that art style. Fantastic record, by the way. But Neverending Nightmares, you know, it's pretty sweet. It's just short. And from here on out, you may or may not consider these spoilers. Again, we're going to talk about the ending right now, and I'm not going to divulge what happens in them. But if you consider that to be spoilerific in any way whatsoever, then stop here, I guess. Not sure what to tell you. So when I got to the ending, you know, I was okay with the length. The problem I had with this game, in terms of the length, is that the ending that I got on my very first playthrough wasn't satisfying at all. It was just kind of like you show up at the end and you're like, okay, so that was it, huh? Alright. And one of the things that's interesting about this game that I like is there are 3 different endings that you can trigger by taking various paths in the game. And normally with a Silent Hill, for example, to trigger an alternate ending, you need to pick up this certain item in this specific place, or look at this item once and then read the note 7 times and then look at the bloody knife 27 times or whatever. You don't do that with Neverending Nightmares. In Neverending Nightmares, the branching paths that take you to the alternate endings are literally branching paths. Instead of going through this door, go through that door. When you get to this T in the hallway, go left, not right. That sort of thing. Literal branching paths that take you to the alternate endings. And I found none of them to be satisfying after I checked out all 3 of them. Now, that being said, there's probably a reason for that. When this was developed by Infinitap, which was the logo that we saw at the beginning of the episode, I don't know if anyone was able to read that or not. I sure as shit wasn't. On my first time, I actually had to get online and look up what it was supposed to say. I got the Infini, but then after the T, I couldn't tell what the fuck it said. Regardless, though, this was developed as a metaphor for suffering from depression. So it's just supposed to be, I think, and I could be getting this wrong, and if I do, I apologize, but as I understand it, it's just supposed to be a metaphor for the never-ending hopelessness that a person can feel when they suffer from severe depression. Which, as someone that has suffered from depression issues in the past, I applaud and I welcome. I always think it's fantastic to bring attention to something of that nature because it's a pretty severe issue. You know, there are probably worse issues, or not worse, but there are probably more pressing issues on people's minds on a day to day. But depression is one that can get pretty severe for a lot of people. And if you are suffering from depression issues, by all means, you're not alone. Nothing is hopeless, nothing is lost. Please seek help, don't give up. You know, it's something that I welcome and I encourage. You know, I always think it's great whenever that issue gets attention brought to it. That being said, as a metaphor for depression, I really don't think Neverending Nightmares does what it's supposed to. Because even with getting all three endings, I had no clue what the fuck was going on. You know, it was very confusing. Yeah, now, had there been a disclaimer at the beginning of the game, or even at the end of the game, that would have been fine. You know, the metaphor, I think, would have worked better with a little bit of an arrow pointing in the direction of what it was supposed to be. And maybe I'm just not a member of the intelligentsia that could naturally pick up on something like that, but I think a little bit of, you know, a hey, look over here, probably would have gone a long way with Neverending Nightmares. But it's still a good game. I enjoyed every minute I played with it. I thought it was great. My biggest complaint, again, is probably the length and the endings. You know, the endings probably aren't supposed to make sense, again, because it is that metaphor. And yeah, it would have been nice to get a little bit more, even just another hour out of it, because I really enjoyed the gameplay. You know, the level design is pretty straightforward, get from point A to point B. The music is awesome, the sound effects are pretty good, and the creature designs are pretty good as well. There's a lot of good things in this game that with a little bit more time to be embellished upon could have been fucking great. The problem with the enemies is, in these three alternate endings, every single path that you take to get to ending A, B, or C has a different enemy type. So no matter what ending you get, you're not going to see two particular enemy types. So I like the fact that there are certain enemy types that are just specific to a certain ending. I think that's pretty cool. You know, it just adds to the replayability, in my opinion. And anytime I can get some kind of replayability out of a game for that reason, I'll always check it out, because I'm a sucker for alternate endings, man. Like Silent Hill 2, you bet your ass I unlocked all 5 or 6 endings out of that. You know, when I'm into something, I always want to see everything that it's got to offer. And Neverending Nightmares has got some good stuff to offer, it just doesn't offer enough. But this was funded by Kickstarter. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up now. This game was funded by Kickstarter, and after the successful campaign and after its release in 2014, I believe, 2014 or 2015, then the InfiniTap crew went back to Kickstarter to fund another metaphorical game that shared the similar art style. The title escapes me, but it was about a mother losing her child during childbirth or something to that extent, which again is another interesting subject for a game to tackle, and one that probably isn't on everybody's mind on a day-to-day. You know, I think unless you suffer from something like that, you really don't understand what it's like or comprehend the magnitude of the after effects of it. So I applaud InfiniTap for bringing attention to things that not everybody does, you know. This was not released on Xbox, but this was released on the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation Vita, which it just released for those consoles about 3 or 4 days ago, depending on when you're watching this. This was also out on PC, Mac, and the Ouya, believe it or not, or the Ouya, however you say it. And that was released, you know, it's been on those for quite a while now. It's not bad, it's just, it kind of under delivers. It cuts its own legs off right when it's getting good traction, and that's a shame because it really is a good game. But again, I got my bang for the buck out of it. You know, I really enjoyed every moment that I had with it. The game length, I think, is something that I just wanted to bring to everybody's attention because I know some people really, probably rightfully so, take issue with something so short for the cost that it is. Again, this is $15 US. I have no idea what it's like in other regions, but it's not bad. I do recommend it. It just, yeah, it just comes up short. But anyways, those are my final thoughts on Neverending Nightmares. Thank you all for watching. My name's been Winter. You've been awesome, and I'll see you on the next one. Everybody take care out there.